This is 5 on your side at 5. Focused on you.
We're taking a look at the sky over devastation. This video captured within the last hour over Natural Bridge and Turner. Homes just gone, ripped apart by last night's storms. Damage like this sprawled across the city and county, many left without belongings or even their homes, others mourning family members. At least 5 people are dead and more than 5,000 homes and buildings have been damaged across St. Louis in the wake of devastating tornadoes. Thanks for joining us. I'm Mike Bush. We do know there was a tornado touchdown in our area yesterday. The strongest part of that tornado, a powerful EF3. We're about to get the latest information from St. Louis Metropolitan Police. Crews set up over at Delmar and Kings Highway. They are not ready to take the microphones yet, but we'll take them live as soon as they are available. Now, tonight, the video we will be showing you is only a fraction of the scope people in the city and county are facing tonight. People have lost homes, property, even loved ones. We're bringing you these stories from across the region and one of the hardest hit areas, North St. Louis. Here's a look at some of that damage on Red Bud Avenue. That's in the O'Fallon Park neighborhood. These weren't just buildings, they were homes taken and torn apart by damaging winds. Bricks, wood, and possessions strewn all around the street. One woman says she was at work when the storm hit and got a phone call saying she didn't have a home anymore.
I had to park down the street because I couldn't get through. I parked my truck down the street. I jumped out and I ran down here. And when I got here and walked in, I just fell to my knees and cried. I'm homeless now. Just thinking, I just have to pray on it and pray that God will help me figure out my next step.
She, like so many others, now hope the city and the community can help them recover. City, state, and federal government agencies surged manpower to St. Louis to help power clean up the effort. But tonight, local leaders are looking to nonprofits, churches, and volunteers to pitch in too. 5 on your side's Mark Maxwell brings us a look at the early efforts to start cleaning up.
St. Louis is in a state of emergency.
The devastation is truly tremendous.
At a Saturday morning press conference, Mayor Kara Spencer and Governor Mike Kehoe pledged all the manpower and resources government can provide.
We're putting all hands on deck to make sure that we can assist the city and local authorities as much as possible.
But with a job this big, where do you begin?
Everybody can't do everything, but everybody can do something.
Alderwoman Laura Keyes saw the aftermath of winds ripping the roof from her home.
This is our Katrina, basically.
She's just one of thousands facing severe damage in city limits.
We are estimating right now about 5,000 buildings have been impacted.
Despite the damage to her own home, she and other local leaders were out amplifying calls to action.
We have heavy equipment operators who have been helping us to clear streets.
Local nonprofits with big plans for the Annie Malone Day Parade suspended and postponed Saturday's upcoming scheduled events.
We don't want to pull away from the resources that the city desperately needs at this time.
Instead, their CEO urging people to put their energy into helping their neighbors.
I would love to see people just band together and help one another, come and volunteer to help get branches up. If you have resources, you can donate.
At Annie Malone, the Urban League, and United Way, trusted nonprofit organizers started collecting key items.
Coolers, ice, because people don't have refrigerators. They can have lunch meat and things like that, and there's stuff in the coolers.
This is going to take a lot of volunteer hours and money.
When he's not working in Jefferson City, House Democrat Steve Butts from South City specializes in insurance.
I was out doing a lot of insurance claims till dark last night, and I just know there's a lot of people that have uninsured and underinsured properties.
And while companies start to cover claims, Senator Carla May called on religious leaders to do their part.
Be the source of resources, and that's what we need right now because people don't have roofs on their houses. We're expecting another rain on Monday. They don't have places to sleep.
After all, whatever little you have might help.
We need tarps, we need nails, we need board-up material, we need food and blankets.
The demand for supplies could strain shelves at local stores.
Who would have thought that we would have had this level of devastation in St. Louis City?
The road to recovery may be long, but it's one these leaders plan to march together.
I'll be okay when my city's okay. That's when I'll be okay.
So many of you have asked how you could help 45-year-old Garfield Lacey, the man who firefighters pulled out from under all this rubble after his home collapsed during the peak of the storm on Friday night. We've been in touch with his sister. She tells us he's in the hospital recovering. from bruised lungs and broken ribs after he was crushed under so much of this weight. But she says he doesn't have health insurance and he's left to pay for most of those medical bills on his own. That's why they've organized a GoFundMe page. They're raising donations from the community now to help pay for many of those bills. That link to the GoFundMe is up on our website, ksdk.com. You can find it there right now. Reporting in St. Louis, Mark Maxwell, 5 on your side.
The American Red Cross has set up shelters across the city in response to these storms. Right now, there are 3. One is at the Great Grace Methodist Church, another at the Friendly Temple Outreach Center, and a third now at the 12th and Park Rec Center. That's off Tucker. Proof of residency and ID are not required to get help from the American Red Cross. Services are free. They're available to anyone. The organization says if you want to donate to help, cash is always best right now. More than 750 individuals and families have reached out to Catholic Charities for help following these storms, and the Archdiocese says that number is rising by the hour. Community members in need are asked to submit requests through the Catholic Charities website. The organization says it's working to help secure temporary housing, food, counseling, and long-term recovery for those impacted. It's also working with local parishes to spread outreach. If you or someone you know needs help with storm recovery, we want you to just text the word STORM to 314-425-5355, and we will send you a link, and that link should be able to help you. We've been getting in some videos from viewers showcasing those destructive force, the winds of last night's storms. Here you can see those high winds causing damage in Clayton, sparks coming from the tops of buildings, the roof of a building blown apart in one video from our viewer David Furman. And then look at this, twisting winds and fast-moving clouds. So let's get over to meteorologist Jim Castillo with what we saw last night. All right, we've got our news conference going on. Jim, we'll get to you in a moment, but let's go now to our important news conference from St. Louis City officials. That's police spokesman Mitch McCoy, ready to take the microphone, standing next to Mayor Kara Spencer.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. We want to provide another update on the city of St. Louis's recovery after the tornado. We have a lot of new information for you. We're going to start with Mayor Kara Spencer. We'll get an update from the fire department, the police department. We're going to get an update from Congressman Wesley Bell and the federal resources that he's working on. We are going to get an update from Ameren. There's a lot of encouraging information coming from Ameren this afternoon, which is going to inspire a lot of people. American Red Cross, which is going to give us an update on the shelter availability across the city and across the region. And then we are going to get an update from the Urban League of Metropolitan St. Louis, who has opened up a neighborhood resource center and will continue to do so in the days ahead. So we will start with Mayor Kara Spencer. Please hold questions till the end, and then we'll go through in orderly fashion.
Thank you, Mitch. Good afternoon, everyone. Let me first start by saying just how incredibly grateful I am for all of the first responders who are working around the clock, truly around the clock, to make sure that our community is safe. These are some of the finest and bravest folks in our city and our entire region working very, very hard here today and last night. We are also seeing just tremendous involvement from community organizations taking on a lot of work to support the efforts here. The American Red Cross, of course, has set up 3 shelters in the city to help all people who've been displaced. The Urban League is helping collect donations of food, water, and materials. The United Way is connecting people to resources. By the way, we can visit 211helps.org if you want to learn more, or you can sign up to volunteer at stlvolunteer.org/disaster. Ameren, who you'll hear from, is working incredibly hard. The power is down still across. You can see the power lines are just down across North St. Louis. They've been hit very, very, very hard, but I'm confident we're going to be getting customers back online here. And there are just so many community organizations. I want to shout out the city employees who have been working around the clock, who are still working for us, are doing a tremendous job. We just went out and made sure that everybody got dinner. These folks are working their tails off, truly, truly coming to the mat, coming to the table, working so incredibly hard. Thank you. The loss of life, while this is truly devastating, we understand we've got a few more pieces of information here. While we don't have a tremendous amount of details, we want to make sure family members are contacted. We are understanding that the fatalities are ranging from about 32 to 82. We don't have confirmations on everyone right now, but that is what we're looking at. Since I last saw you, we have been spending a lot of time, obviously, in the community, but also at Emergency Operations Center at police headquarters, organizing the operational response from all the city departments, but also there are just a tremendous amount of partners in the private sector that are coming to the table. We're working on getting everybody organized so we can better distribute, better organize the distribution of resources, including tarps, board ups, food, etc. We're going to keep working into the night until we get all this organized and make sure that we have everything that we could possibly have on the table to help our community. I encourage everyone in our community that's reaching out to go to those sites I mentioned earlier, and just thank the folks out here. I mean, the heartwarming nature of what is happening is just truly, truly incredible. Thank you all, and I just can't say enough about the response here. Truly, truly, truly amazing. Congressman, I think the fire chief, you want to give an update?
Okay. Good afternoon. We're in the process of finishing up on our last sweep of the area. We have an area a little bit north of us that we're doing one more grid search on. The fire department in the city of St. Louis has spent the day sweeping and rolling down and inspecting every street in this city. That's 62 square miles. We've made every street. We're making one more last search of an area a little bit north of us. Right now, the status quo has kind of remained the same as far as injuries and fatalities. So you're going to see the trucks out all night. Give them room. They've been working all day. So right now, we're holding our own. We should finish this entire operation as far as the sweep of all homes, streets, especially the districts that are surrounding us, by about 7 o'clock tonight.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief. We're going to continue to work with the fire department and the rescue teams and continue to go through places. We'll keep the security on the area as they continue to search the homes and see if there's anybody that is still might be trapped in it. They continue to do some brave work in some of these facilities, impactful buildings that might have some issues going on. So they got to do it very slowly. We'll be out there to make sure we assist in any way we can. What we're doing in policing, we already mobilized everybody from the department. We're going to continue to do 12-hour tours to make sure we can maximize our coverage out there. And what we do is even going into the night, we will be out there with our lights doing grids where we go through all the neighborhoods. And then we're not forgetting about the rest of the city, because there's things that go on throughout the city that were impacted, and there's also calls for service. So we're going to make sure both places are taken care of. And we also know that there's power outages outside of this area, and we got to make sure we can keep everybody safe and make sure that nobody's taking advantage of this situation. And so far, it's been very, very minimal. And I thank the community for coming forward to make sure we keep our city safe, come together, and make sure that we get through this in the most positive way. Of the victims, 5 of the victims that have died, the mayor hit on them. Those age ranges from 30 almost to 82 years old. Please be patient with us. We have identified 3 of them, but we're identifying all of them, and we have to make sure we make the notification to next of kin. So with that, we're out there. We're going to continue to be out there. We can continue. And then last thing, Fire Chief hit on it. We need people. We have a curfew in place from 9 o'clock to 6 a.m. That is for our safety, your safety, to make sure we can continue to get the job done. And that's up here in the 5th and 6th district. And that's citywide. But you got to let us do our job. It's still dangerous out there. And that's why we want to make sure that we can clean up, make sure we can make it safe. But please, that'll keep people out of our way. And especially at night, we can keep a good eye to keep everyone safe. So with that, I'm going to introduce our Congressman, Wesley Bell. Congressman.
As a man of faith, I would be remiss if I didn't send my most deep and heartfelt prayers to the victims of this devastating storm and tornado, particularly that hit so hard, particularly in the north side, North St. Louis, and it's just terrible, and it's tragic. And I have to also acknowledge the first responders and our utility workers who are here as well for working round the clock. And you know, in my former job, I had to deal with these kind of tragedies, and obviously, you know, the fates have decided that we have another situation and tragedy that we have to deal with. And what I do believe is that faith without works is dead. And I can tell you that on the local level, with our mayor and alderpersons, on the state level, speaking with our governor and other folks, and on the federal level, everyone is working together to bring the resources to bear to address the needs as we continue to assess them. And so we got to give folks time to get that done. And I can tell you right now, everyone who's spoken in all the departments, and from the mayor's office to the fire department to the police departments, but all city workers are working round the clock to do just that. And there are a couple things that I do want to point out, in that from the federal side, we're working with the Missouri delegation and the governor to ensure that a request is sent to the president to declare this a major disaster. A disaster declaration will allow us to utilize federal funds through agencies like FEMA to help rebuild our region. And we need to make sure that we find every dollar from every grant, from every federal program, from every state program, and every couch cushion to bring to bear to help this region. And that's exactly what we intend to do. For those in need of shelter, you can text the word shelter and your zip code to 43362 for real-time updates on nearby shelter locations. Shelters have been set up at the recreational centers located at 1410 South Tucker Boulevard and at Friendly Temple. Additionally, myself and my office have worked with Verizon to make mobile charging stations with Wi-Fi available starting tomorrow at the O'Fallon YMCA at 4343 West Florissant Avenue. Also, Verizon, I'm happy to announce, is making a $10,000 donation to the Red Cross. And that just exemplifies what we've seen all over this region, from corporations, but just regular folks. You see people cooking out and donating food and donations and resources, and that's what makes St. Louis St. Louis. And so last, if you're looking for a way to help, you can donate to the United Way of Greater St. Louis, or sign up to volunteer with the Red Cross or local food banks. And please don't hesitate to call our office if there's things that you need. If we can't help you, we'll direct you to who you can. And our office number is 314-955-9980. And so I'm gonna bring up Mr. Bouget with Ameren so they can talk about what they're doing, the tremendous work that they're doing. So here he is over there. There he is.
Thank you, appreciate it. Good evening. My name is Tommy Bouget of Ameren, Missouri. So I would like to start off by Ameren would like to express their appreciation of the coordination and partnership with St. Louis County, St. Louis City, and state and federal officials. Basically just the assistance they offered as we work safely to restore our customers after this devastating storm that impacted all our customers in several communities. As of today, we have restored, as of 5 p.m., we have restored 70,000 customers. Currently, we have 1,200 resources engaged in restoration efforts. We do have more coming. We do have, as of now, 66,000 customers still remain without power, but we are working hard to get our customers back on. I would also say that we will continue to bring in more resources as the days come, but this will be a multi-day storm as we continue the efforts. We will have some complicated repairs as we go. As you've seen the devastation around this community, there's a lot of vegetation, there's a lot of property destruction. With that being said, that limits the access to our system. We do understand how critical electric service is to our customers, but we will ask for their patience as we continue to restore efforts on restoring power. I will hand it over to the Red Cross. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Lucretia Cox, and I'm the Executive Director of the American Red Cross Greater St. Louis Chapter. And the American Red Cross is here to meet the immediate needs of the residents of the city of St. Louis. And so, as mentioned before, we have opened up 3 area shelters. I will say that the shelter at Grace United Methodist Church is at full capacity. So we are redirecting everyone else to 12th and Park Recreation Center and also to Friendly Temple. If needed, we will definitely open up additional shelters on the way that we've been communicating with. And so we appreciate everyone who's given us information and sent people over. We're taking care of, food, any additional resources, and we'd like to thank our partners who have come out, like Schnucks and other faith-based organizations, to help us with food. They're doing a great job. I also like to say that in the next coming days, we will be sending out teams to look at the needs and the damages on properties, and so that will take some time. But we also want to make sure that any properties that are eligible for financial aid, we are looking into that, and we will be doing so. And the last thing that I definitely want to mention is that if you know of anyone who needs immediate assistance, we are encouraging individuals to call our 1-800 number, so they can reach out to 1-800-RED-CROSS, and then we can connect them with other resources that are in the community. And we're thankful for our partners. And now I will pass it over to James Clark, who is also a partner advisor as well.
Good evening. I want to first give thanks to God, who is clearly sending us a message right now. Then I want to thank the mayor. I want to thank Congressman Wesley Bell, the police chief and the fire chief for their leadership. Then we want to give our heartfelt condolences to the families who have lost loved ones. Then want to thank St. Louis for really stepping up right now. The Urban League of Metropolitan St. Louis, we have set up a disaster relief site at our headquarters located at 1408 North Kings Highway. We started phase 1, which is direct resident engagement, where we touched over 250 families today, going door to door, getting an assessment of those who needed food, those who need water, and we distributed food to over 75 families today. We will begin that same process tomorrow, and we will do that process every day until this emergency subsides. Phase 2 is we're working with the Regional Business Council, Clayco Construction, Keeley Construction, and several other major construction companies from throughout the region. They will be doing a walkthrough tomorrow to get an assessment of what kind of heavy equipment is going to be needed to remove brush and to tear down vacant and abandoned structures. We will start in this immediate area, and we will work our way out. The plan is to pull out all of the debris, pull out all of the bricks and make large stacks, then come back and over the next several days haul it out and then do stack and brick removal in that fashion and work our way out. We are very much committed to this. All of the Division of Public Safety's programming has been paused so that we can give our full attention to this relief effort. Thank you very much. And now we have Gentry Trotter from Heat Up Cool Down St. Louis.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we are very concerned, and you're probably thinking, well, there's no electric, but the need is always great. And right now, what we're going to be doing with the Urban League is taking our ARPA federal funds, because they have deadlines to them, and we're going to reach out to these families as fast as we can to help them immediately, which will take the pressure off of them so they don't have to worry about a utility bill for a while. We also are going to ask Ameren, Missouri, and Spire to consider a moratorium for 4 months. We did this a couple of years ago during the flood, and it worked out well. They were very cooperative. So we're appealing to them, and we're also asking the public. We're independent from United Way and Red Cross. We've been doing this for 25 5 years, strictly utility assistance. You can donate online at Cool Down St. Louis or Heat Up St. Louis, or you can go, thank goodness, the Commerce Bank is letting us accept donations because of this at any bank, Commerce Bank in Missouri and Illinois, and those funds will go 100%, as you all know, goes to helping people with service. So we're hoping this works out for all of us. All you have to do is tell them to go to heatupstlouis.org or Cool Down or call 241-0001. And we will confirm that they're impacted clients. We have to make sure of that when we're giving out these funds. Thank you.
So just like we did in the morning update, we'll open it up to some questions, but let's be orderly.
I could. Mayor, could you tell us what's the biggest challenge right now?
The biggest challenge is, I would say, getting everyone organized. You know, there are so many people and so many organizations that want to help. Centralizing that, so many people want to come out, but as the chief mentioned, it's dangerous. We have down power lines. You know, having regular folks just come in and try to plug in has been a difficult challenge. But as we move through the next few days, we're hoping to better organize that process so regular citizens can play an important role in helping do the cleanup.
And Mayor Spencer, you've said this is one of the worst storms in the city's history. Anything that you want to change moving forward in coming years? How do you think it went in terms of prep prevention for something
I
like
have
this?
to say that the level of participation, the response has been phenomenal. While there's ways we can improve, and there certainly are challenges, this is not a type of storm that we are used to seeing on a daily basis, but the response has been unbelievable. I am so proud of our city workers. I'm so proud of our first responders. I'm so proud to be part of a network of community organizations that has just absolutely come to the table. Regular citizens, the stories we heard in the community yesterday and today of folks helping pull people out of rubble, saving people, you know, in the Harlem tap room. You know, those stories are incredible. There are tremendous citizens amongst us who are doing phenomenal work.
I'm a concerned citizen, and I've been on block to block. My question is, how do we get dumpsters on each block to be able to get the
debris? Citizen, regular citizen over there. I hear you. That is a big concern. We have been hauling out enormously large dumpsters full of tree debris, so we are prioritizing making sure that we're clearing off the roadways first. We've also got our refuse and parks department making sure that the alleys have access so we don't see trash pile up from households. We are working on that, and that will be phase 2 once we get the roads and the alleyways cleared. But that's important to us, and it's already on our radar. Thank you.
on the blocks?
Yes.
Block to block?
Well, we're working on that, citizen, and we will get back to you.
Clarification on what happened with the sirens. There have been some mixed responses about people hearing them, not hearing them.
Sure. Yeah. No, this is a serious issue. We're taking it seriously. You know, we are looking at our internal protocols, looking to see what happened, what might not have happened. We are continuing to do an evaluation, but that is an important process here. We're focused right now on the response and making sure that we are really addressing human safety at this point, but that is absolutely on our radar to be addressing, and we'll have answers for you on that soon.
2 more questions.
I'd like to hear how Ameren is prioritizing restoring power versus fixing down power lines, especially after we had one fatality in March.
Thank you for that question. So, number one, how we prioritize. First, we have our critical customers, meaning hospitals, nursing homes, fire stations, police stations also. Then when we get to the customers, what we do is we try to find the most customers that we can store the quickest, meaning we might have one device outage, one device that's causing 2,000 outages. So, and we might have another device that may be causing only 2 outages. Well, it'd be faster for us to restore those customers who are impacted from that one device that's causing 2,000 outages. So we prioritize the most outages and we just work them down.
One more question. Mayor Spencer, is FEMA going to play any role in the recovery effort?
I hope so, but as the congressman pointed out, there are some federal designations, declarations that have to take place. The city of St. Louis declared an emergency, state of emergency yesterday. We worked to get that done right away. We've been communicating with the state and the feds on this. That's not something that we can do unilaterally, but we are hoping that that does play a role.
Representative Bell, are you confident that we will get the funding considering the federal cuts that have been made?
Yeah, so what I can say is that this is not a Democrat or Republican issue. Democrats and Republicans are all united. We've spoken with the governor, I've spoken with other folks in the Missouri delegation, and everyone is on board to address this issue. But I do want to caution everyone, this is not going to be an overnight fix. If you drive around just in this neighborhood, in this area, it's going to take some time, it's going to take some work. I can tell you that on the local level, behind the mayor's leadership and the board of aldermen and alderwomen, on the state level, as well as the federal level, and as you've heard, different just regular citizens, everyone is invested and working together, and that's what you can expect to see. And we're going to try to every single resource that we can bring to bear. I don't care where it is. We're gonna try to bring it home.
Awesome. Well, as we wrap up, I just want to please pass along to everyone that the City of St. Louis, the police department, along with the emergency management, we will continue to push updates out throughout the night as needed on social media, X, Facebook, Instagram, and then also notify STL for any impending weather. We know that there could be some isolated thunderstorms tomorrow, so please monitor, notify STL and everything on social media, and then we will let you know at some point tomorrow when to expect the next briefing, okay? Thank you guys very much for your time.
So St. Louis City leaders wrapping up a news conference, giving us an update on the storm devastation and response. Mayor Kara Spencer praising first responders for their work around the clock, as well as city employees who are also working around the clock, and reminding people if they do need help to call 211. That's very important if you do need help. We also heard from Dennis Jenkerson, the fire chief, who says the fire department has been sweeping every street in the city of St. Louis, and they're almost done. They hope to be done by 7 p.m. tonight. They're covering a 62 square mile area, and so far they haven't found anything else that they mentioned in the briefing in terms of injuries or fatalities. Chief Robert Tracy mobilizing everyone in the police department with 12-hour tours, making sure everybody is safe. They say they're about 30 to 80 in terms of the ages of the injuries of people, but they want to make sure the next of kin are notified before they start mentioning names. There is a curfew in the 5th and 6th District in St. Louis from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. Congressman Wesley Bell, a request has been sent to the President of the United States for a federal disaster declaration, and a reminder that there are shelters open and please take advantage of them if you need them. So that is the latest from the news conference. They said there will be another briefing perhaps tomorrow, but they will push out updates all night long on social media. All right, let's get to meteorologist Jim Castillo with our weather impact forecast, because we're getting more information about exactly what happened yesterday, and there's also some storms in our forecast possibly for tomorrow, right, Jim?
Yeah, well, not tomorrow, but what we're watching is late Sunday night, the overnight hours, yeah, and into Monday. That risk is more hail in the morning hours, and then we get into Monday afternoon and evening. That is that any risk is possible again as we get into later Monday. More on that coming up. But, you know, Scott and I were noticing multiple areas of spin on the radar yesterday, and that was in the afternoon and evening. And now the Weather Service is confirming, you know, this could be as much as a mile wide. And so this could be a multiple vortex tornado with little vorts and other tornadoes within the tornado itself. And they're finding some very severe damage, Greaterville neighborhood, also Kingsway East and Fountain Park, EF3 damage. So what does that mean? Well, EF3 damage is severe damage, 136 mile per hour winds up to about 165, and I think they're homing in on about 150 plus. in that area, and that destroys homes as we see. So again, the path on this still yet to be figured out, because again, it could be a mile wide in some places, but that tornado was right through the St. Louis area. So remember, again, we started noticing the touchdown confirmed around Clayton, and then eventually they're going to check tomorrow, the Weather Service survey teams around Granite City and Venice in Illinois, and likely that tornado continued across the Mississippi. So again, this entire area, this is the Central West End, big time damage, trees down, and leaves and all kinds of damage in that area. And then you widen out the shot, we had numerous reports of wind damage and hail damage, the big hail that we had, and then tornadoes all over the place. Southern Illinois, southeast Missouri, and into Indiana. So it was a huge system that moved through, and it really kind of started here. And you look at the radar and the satellite shot, we had a beautiful day before it happened. And then there it is. It blew up right over the area, and we just had one of those cells that developed that very large tornado that moved right through St. Louis and then pushed on to the east, and then we cleared up again very nicely. So let's look at this on the radar again, where you see the pinks on here, and that's from Clayton all the way through the Central West End and into the Granite City area, also Venice. That purple on there, likely that tornado, and at times a mile wide and probably multiple vortices moving through there and spinning up and touching down. It'll be very interesting to see where those vorts hit. But here is that hook on the radar that Scott and I were watching as we were talking about the tornado warning last night. So in terms of what's happening still, the power outages, they're improving. They're getting the power on. Everybody's working so hard. The Weather Service is doing a great job trying to find the path of this thing. But St. Louis County, 21,000 plus still without power. St. Louis City, 33,000 still without power. Madison County, Illinois, 7,000. That's an improvement, though, without power. Jefferson County, even my brother was talking about damage. We didn't even get to that. Down around House Springs and that area, they had quite the windstorm down there with gust over 65 miles an hour. And then St. Clair County, Illinois, 437 without power. Now let's take a look at this 35-second clip here of that storm. Look at this. This is Forest Park, Clayton. The buildings there disappear. And this giant wind area right here with rain, likely, again, that huge spin in the clouds, and little vorts could easily just kind of pop out of here. And that's likely what happened as this entire area moved into the Central West End, causing that damage, causing that camera to shake on top of 100 above the park, and numerous trees down. In fact, some people say not only the sign here at 100 above the park laying down, but we're looking at damage all over. Here's West Pine Boulevard, numerous trees down on the street here, uprooted as that storm pushed in. And here's also West Pine, closer to 100 above the park, a tree on a car. Again, these pictures taken from just friends of mine living in the Central West End. Damage right here. This is near Boyle. So again, we're watching the next storm system as we get into Monday. So the afternoon and night, that timing might be updated because we're going to see another round of showers and storms late tomorrow night, the overnight hours, and into Monday. Now, we could see some hail with that. But a weather impact alert day has been issued really for the afternoon and night on Monday as another round comes in. All hazards are possible. Just be ready to act. Again, a lot of people don't have power. Just give them a heads up that this could happen on Monday. Again, the threat of all hazards. Again, hail, the biggest threat, like it was yesterday. And then we had high wind, the threat. And then a tornado threat is still there. So all bets are on that we're going to see some more severe weather here as we get into Monday afternoon and night. I'll have much more on this coming up in the main weather forecast in just a few minutes, Mike.
All right, Jim, we'll check back. And we do have crews across the city right now with the latest on how people are dealing with all this damage. Let's start with Megan Kernan, who's live from Carondelet Park. Megan.
Yeah, Mike, well, we first told you in our storm coverage yesterday about a truck that was completely smashed by this uprooted tree in Carondelet Park. We now know 48-year-old Juan Baltazar was inside that truck. Tonight, for the first time, we're hearing from Juan's wife, who says her husband was the most incredible man. Juan was driving on his way home from work yesterday when a tree in Carondelet Park came crashing down onto his blue Ford, killing him instantly. He was less than half a mile away from home. Juan was well known in the community as the owner of the food truck El Mandalone, known for his roasted street corn. His wife Rachel tells us he has 7 kids. 3 are here in the U.S. and 4 are in Mexico. Rachel and Juan share 2 kids together, 3 and 6 years old. His family wanted to share his story, but weren't ready to go on camera.
We love him and we're gonna miss him. The kids, they don't even really know yet. And I think it's gonna be twice as hard once I see they figure it out. A lot of people are gonna miss him. He knew a lot of people.
And that's really what we're hearing from so many people, that he was so well known and so loved, especially in the Latino community. We know that the Hispanic Leaders Group of St. Louis has reached out and been in contact with the family, offering their support. And if you would like to help their family, Juan's wife has set up a GoFundMe that you can find on ksdk.com in the As Seen on TV section. Live in St. Louis, Megan Kernan, 5 on your side.
All right, Megan, thank you. And tonight we're learning a 70-year-old woman died during the storm on Côte Brilliant in the Jeff Vanderloo neighborhood. And 5 on your side's Robert Townsend is there now after speaking with the victim's family. Robert.
Hey there, Mike. Let me tell you, there's just so much heartbreak and devastation out here in this North St. Louis neighborhood. Look back there. Take a look at that. That's just what's left of the Holmes family's home of 40 years. The storm, powerful storm, destroyed this 3-story brick house in a matter of minutes yesterday afternoon. You can see it's now just a huge pile of bricks, wood, and lots of siding. The roof actually was ripped off during the storm and tossed there on the grass. Sadly, again, 70-year-old Dolores Holmes died inside her house. Her sister, Josephine Holmes, is here with me now, and other relatives. I'm so sad and offer our condolences about what happened to your sister. Can you tell me what happened? I understand her son rushed home and found his mom?
Yes, her son rushed home, found his mom. By the time he got there to his mom, everything had fell on her and everything, and he had to drag her out the house, and it was horrible. It was really horrible. So I can imagine how he feel. But we praying, hoping everything's gonna get better. Everything's going to be better.
Ronnie, your brother found her in the basement, right?
Yeah, he found her trying to get to the basement to shelter, but how fast the storm was coming, she didn't make it. And once the house came down on her, it's like broke her neck. Man, I miss my mama, man.
So sorry. Nicole, when you look at all this, I mean, it's hard to believe that's your loved one's house.
It's very hard to believe that this is my aunt's house. We had on Sunday Sunday was the gathering place for her. She loved family. She loved her grandkids. She loved gatherings, and she loved her yard. Anytime you were looking for her, you can always find her in that front yard, the side yard, planting something, pulling up something, doing something. And then she loved her community.
The matriarch of your family, I'm told everybody in this neighborhood also loved her.
Yes, her community loved her so much. She was small, but she was very mighty.
I'm so sorry.
Yes.
Thanks a lot for taking the time. Again, lots of houses in this area just on the ground. Sam, let's swing around. I want to show you this before we get out of here. That house across the street that used to be a 3-story house on Corey Avenue. Neighbors are telling me when that storm blew through here yesterday afternoon, 5 family members were inside that house, just on the first floor, the second floor. You look at that, the entire front of the house ripped right off, obliterated pretty much. Bricks are all over the sidewalk. Thankfully, though, lots of neighbors rushed in and they helped pull those people out of a gaping hole, a hole that used to be the living room. I'm going to talk more to them in a few minutes, but we are just, again, when you hear about the devastation, Mike, it's one thing, but to see it up close, it's totally different. Back to you in the studio.
All right, Robert, thank you very much. Our condolences to that family and so many other families in the St. Louis area. Here's another broad look at the scope of the damage. This is a look over a home off North Newstead. These houses just crumbled and debris thrown around the street. Damaged homes like these are across the area. Many of the people who live in them are looking for help tonight. Our Andy Kroll is at Kings Highway in Del Mar, where you saw city leaders just give us an update. Earlier today, Annie was at the scene of a deadly church collapse, and we know one woman was killed there yesterday. So Annie, bring us up to date.
Mike, thank you. You've been running all over the city, not only with this press conference. That church you mentioned is Centennial Christian Church right in the Fairground Parks area. I have to tell you, it's pretty devastating when you walk over there. You see every single tree knocked down. And Mike, these aren't small trees. These are massive old oak trees. I was able to speak with the Simmons family who lives right across the street from Centennial Christian Church, and they had their house pretty much completely damaged, bringing all of their items, clothing out today. That's what basically this entire Saturday is looking like. Pickup truck after pickup truck just moving and moving stuff because they're so worried about, unfortunately, looters coming into their space, taking their items, and of course making this very bad situation even worse. So I asked the family, what is the plan for the next couple days? And they basically told me, Annie, you have to move into a hotel. You have to take advantage of a generous family member being able to stand there and stay with you. But there's so many people who've been impacted. The Simmons family who I was talking to you about, they live on one corner right at that church, and then you have another sibling and their spouse living a couple blocks away. So you have families living all in the same area when it comes to being by Forest Park, being by Fairground Park, being in the St. Louis area. And I was in North St. Louis yesterday. Some of the worst devastation we were seeing on Lee Avenue. That intersection also has similarly very damaged homes, hard for people to move in. So we were able to speak with the family over in Fairgrounds Park, but also in North St. Louis. They don't have any power, and we just heard that from the officials here at the press conference. This is not an easy fix. They're close to, I think, 66,000 people still without power at this point, according to Ameren, but they have about 70,000 that still have it or are still working on getting that fixed. So there's still a lot of work that has to be done, not only in the Fairgrounds Park area, but North St. Louis, and of course everywhere else in between. So that church, Mike, you were talking about with the deadly fatality, that is just one of 5. So that one woman, one mother, it's one of 5, and there's 4 other families that have been impacted by yesterday's storm. So still a lot of grieving and of course a lot of fixing to be done in what's left. So for now though, we'll bring you more reports both about that church, about what officials are telling us, and of course what other resources you can get. Reporting live in St. Louis, Andy Kroll, 5 on your side.
All right, Andy, and we'll get back to you in a few minutes. The St. Louis Zoo will be staying closed through the weekend for the sake of public safety. Luckily, the zoo says there were no injuries to any staff, guests, or animals as that storm came through. All zoo residents are safe and accounted for. However, the butterfly dome was destroyed, and we're told it's going to take a long time to clean up.
Thousands of limbs, really large limbs that are still hanging in the trees, and that's our biggest challenge right now. I think we'll have most of the paths cleared by the end of today, but we still have a lot of large trees that have to be cut up, moved off site, and then a lot of climbers we're going to have to get up into the trees to remove those large limbs, because that's where the safety concern really is, which is why we made the decision to close for at least one more day tomorrow.
Make Tracks Through the Zoo, which was slated for tomorrow, has been canceled, so anyone who signed up for that can still complete the race remotely, but the zoo asks you do it in a safe area. Another area where recovery is underway right now following yesterday's powerful tornado outbreak is the Northside's Fountain Park neighborhood. 5 on your side's Travis Cummings talked to folks in that historic area on a mission to mobilize.
Pretty heartbroken. I mean, this statue has so much significance.
If there was ever a symbol of a city in distress, it's this bronze statue of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. lying on the ground.
There are people that come from all over the state just to come to this park and see this statue.
It's a centerpiece in the Fountain Park neighborhood, marking the destruction from Friday afternoon's tornadoes. Tree limbs now rest where families once gathered. Shattered windows and mangled roofs tell the story of a storm that took just minutes to change everything. Dr. King's spirit of service, says Stefan West, who's lived on this block for 20 years, out clearing debris.
I'm very passionate about my city of St. Louis, hence the shirt. You know, we love black-owned businesses, but we definitely bonded together on our block, and we still out here working as well. It's a lot of work to do, but we definitely pulled together to help our neighbors.
Some of the most vulnerable are on his block.
We actually have a couple families that have special needs, and we have a lot of elderly neighbors over here. So a lot of them they can't get out and do, the simple things.
There is a lot to recover from.
I could not even contact anyone because we've been without power all night. And so my heart and my social services, we're hitting the doors and making sure that the youth and our seniors are taken care of and those that are in need. And this is complete devastation.
Water, clothing, anything you can provide to help.
The days ahead will be long, but can be done with love, something Dr. King fought for.
Showing love to each other, showing love to our community, leading by example.
Travis Cummings, 5 on your side.
And if you want to help out, there's a group of clergy near the Fountain Park neighborhood set up on Delmar and Euclid right now. You can stop by there through the night to pick up or drop off donations.
I present to you the Granite City High School graduated class of 2025.
A sign of hope after a dark day. Granite City High School graduating seniors tossed their caps this morning in celebration after storms hit their school yesterday, postponing the ceremony. A spokesperson with the Granite City Community Unit School District tells us the storm hit the Prather Pre-K and Kindergarten Center, damaging the roof. The school now working with contractors throughout the weekend to fix things up. The district plans to have students back in class on Monday as scheduled. All right, let's go back to Jim in the Weather Impact Forecast Center. We do want to look at this massive scope once again of the damage. We were out there on MLK and Kings Highway just a little while ago. Houses hollowed out by the storms going on. This is going on block after block. And Jim, we talked yesterday possibly about whether this was a large tornado, just one, or if it was more than one. We know when we say it's an EF3 tornado, it's not an EF3 tornado the whole time. So can you kind of narrow that down for us a little bit?
Absolutely. So what the Weather Service, they go out and send out their survey teams. They're finding EF3 damage, the worst damage, again, right around North City. And then likely the path of it may extend or start even back towards, it could very well go back into Baldwin or around Baxter Road or even Clayton. And then you'll find some EF1 damage or EF0 damage there. But it might still be that same tornado that was developing, but they're just finding that really severe damage, again, right in the heart of North City. So again, we'll watch that path likely go all the way across the Mississippi River and into Venice, Illinois, and also friends in Granite City had pictures all over the place of just massive damage there. And they also thought for sure there was a tornado there. All right, so survey teams will be out and about, and they'll get that path ironed out for us likely by tomorrow. But St. Louis County here, still 20,000 without power. So these are updated numbers since I just showed you. So they're improving each and every half an hour here. St. Louis City, 32,000 without power. Plus, and then also Madison County, Illinois, 6,000 without power. Jefferson County, Missouri, 7,400 now, and St. Clair County about 405. That's a slight improvement. So tonight we're fine, no severe weather. There's some clouds out there, but it was a beautiful day and temperatures in the 70s, relatively cool. But look what's going on around Oklahoma City. This is a tornado watch. And then the brand new one, this is severe thunderstorm watch Dallas to Corsicana, Texas, and still watching again a cluster of severe storms south of Memphis. So eventually this will come back up our way as we get into late tomorrow night and early Monday for one round. And there's a chance of hail with those, but it's really Monday afternoon and night where that potential is there for all hazards again. So we'll be watching that, and a weather impact alert has been issued for Monday afternoon and night. 75 right now, a beautiful day out there. 76 was the official high, and that low of 61. No rainfall today, precip 0. West wind at about 17 miles an hour, and that updated number 74. And partly cloudy tonight. You'll see those clouds out there now, 58 degrees. Northwest wind, 5 to 10, gust to about 20. So it's really comfortable. And then overnight lows vary across the area, as we know. So low 50s from Alton all the way to Shiloh, 55, Potosi, 56. And that allergy index, we'll get this in for you. Trees are low now, grasses are high, weeds are low, and mold is high. So you might be having issues with allergies. So severe weather threat on Monday, afternoon and night, all hazards possible. Be ready to act and make sure you have several ways to receive warnings. Let's get that 7-day forecast in here for you too. So temperatures in the 70s all the way through this rainy, stormy Monday, Tuesday, up to 3 inches of rainfall too, Mike, as we get into Monday and Tuesday. So several rounds and waves of showers and storms. Much cooler for Wednesday at 65, 68 on Thursday, a lot of sunshine. And Friday looks good, 74, and only a slim chance of rain next Saturday. Boy, we need a break from all these storms.
Well, we do, and I think the concern is, Jim, is that we're not getting one. Even if we get a break, it's for a day or two. I've worked at Channel 5 for 40 years, and I do not remember a spring like this where we have a weather impact alert basically every other day. I mean, that's what it feels like. Do you, in terms of the history, do you remember anything like this?
Yet I was born and raised here, and I was telling our brand new news director, again, we were talking about this is the most active spring I've ever seen. We've had active springs, and there's been numerous tornadoes coming up in the next hour. I'll show you all the different tornadoes that we've had across the area, and even some of the stronger ones and when they occurred. But you have to go back to 1959 to get to a storm that was even close to what we had yesterday. And then 1896, a very large tornado also destroyed Lafayette Square. So we get these periods, but this is the most active, definitely, since I've been back.
And I think everybody, our viewers, all of us were having storm fatigue.
Yes.
And we sure would like a break, but not just for 2 days. We would like a break for like weeks at a time.
Yeah, maybe this summer might be hot and dry.
Well, let's hope so. Jim, thanks. We continue streaming here on 5+. It's been now over 24 hours since deadly tornadoes hit our city. As you've heard in the last hour here, new details continue to come in. We now know at least two tornadoes touched down. We're not sure if it's actually two tornadoes or if it's one tornado trying to merge with another. So Jim is working on that, and the National Weather Service is working on that as well. The video you see is here from the Fountain Park area, where the National Weather Service has confirmed there was an EF3 tornado. That means winds that caused this damage were at 165 miles per hour. Right now, those damage surveys are continuing as the move to look at other parts of the city, including the central West End, continues. The storms left 5 people dead. Of those, 4 were reported in that area. Mayor Kara Spencer told us over 38 people were hurt, some of those still in critical condition. These violent tornadoes are estimated to have impacted more than 5,000 homes and businesses. Another area hit Red Bud Avenue. That's in the O'Fallon Park neighborhood. These weren't just buildings, they were homes taken and torn apart by damaging winds. Bricks, wood, possessions strewn about the street. One woman says she was at work when the storm hit and got a phone call saying she didn't have a home anymore.
I had to park down the street because I couldn't get through. I parked my truck down the street, I jumped out and I ran down here. And when I got here and walked in, I just fell to my knees and cried. I'm homeless now. Just thinking, I mean, I just have to pray on it and pray that God will help me figure out my next step.
She, like so many others, now hope the city and the community can come together to help them and everybody else recover. As some of our neighbors begin to clean up the damage, many are asking, what can I do to help? Our Mark Maxwell shows us how St. Louis is coming together to support neighbors in need.
St. Louis is in a state of emergency.
The devastation is truly tremendous.
At a Saturday morning press conference, Mayor Kara Spencer and Governor Mike Kehoe pledged all the manpower and resources government can provide.
We're putting all hands on deck to make sure that we can assist the city and local authorities as much as possible.
But with a job this big, where do you begin?
Everybody can't do everything, but everybody can do something.
Alderwoman Laura Keyes saw the aftermath of winds ripping the roof from her home.
This is our Katrina, basically.
She's just one of thousands facing severe damage in city limits.
We are estimating right now about 5,000 buildings have been impacted.
Despite the damage to her own home, she and other local leaders were out amplifying calls to action.
We have heavy equipment operators who have been helping us to clear streets.
Local nonprofits with big plans for the Annie Malone Day Parade suspended and postponed Saturday's upcoming scheduled events.
We don't want to pull away from the resources that the city desperately needs at this time.
Instead, their CEO urging people to put their energy into helping their neighbors.
I would
would love to see people just band together and help one another. Come and volunteer to help get branches up. If you have resources, you can donate.
At Annie Malone, the Urban League, and United Way, trusted nonprofit organizers started collecting key items.
Coolers, ice, because people don't have refrigerators. They can have lunch meat and things like that in there. There's stuff in the coolers.
This is going to take a lot of volunteer hours and money.
When he's not working in Jefferson City, House Democrat Steve Butts from South City specializes in insurance.
I was out doing a lot of insurance claims till dark last night, and I just know there's a lot of people that have uninsured and underinsured properties.
And while companies start to cover claims, Senator Carla May called on religious leaders to do their part.
Be the source of resources, and that's what we need right now because people don't have roofs on their houses. We're expecting another rain on Monday. They don't have places to sleep.
After all, whatever little you have might help.
We need tarps, we need nails, we need board-up material, we need food and blankets.
The demand for supplies could strain shelves at local stores.
Who would have thought that we would have had this level of devastation in St. Louis City?
The road to recovery may be long, but it's one these leaders plan to march together.
I'll be okay when my city's okay. That's when I'll be okay.
So many of you have asked how you could help 45-year-old Garfield Lacey, the man who firefighters pulled out from under all this rubble after his home collapsed during the peak of the storm on Friday night. We've been in touch with his sister. She tells us he's in the hospital recovering from bruised lungs and broken ribs after he was crushed under so much of this weight, but she says he doesn't have health insurance and he's left to pay for most of those medical bills on his own. That's why they've organized a GoFundMe page. They're raising donations from the community now to help pay for many of those bills. That link to the GoFundMe is up on our website, ksdk.com. You can find it there right now. Reporting in St. Louis, Mark Maxwell, 5 on your side.
Now, more than 750 individuals and families have reached out to Catholic Charities for help following these storms, and the Archdiocese says that number is rising by the hour. Community members in need are asking to submit requests through the Catholic Charities website. The organization says it's working to help secure temporary housing, get you some food, counseling, and long-term recovery for those impacted. It's also working with local parishes to spread outreach. If you or someone you know needs help with storm recovery, just text the word STORM to 314-425-5355. You can see that number on your screen. I'm going to say it again, 314-425-5355, and we'll send you a link, and that link should be able to get you to the right places. It also lists ways you can give back to those impacted. And the American Red Cross has set up shelters across the city in response to the storms. Right now, there are 3, one at Grace Methodist Church, another at the Friendly Temple Outreach Center, and a third now at 12th and Park Rec Center, that's off Tucker. Proof of residency and ID are not required to get help from the American Red Cross. Services are free, they're available to anyone, and the organization says if you want to donate to help out, cash is best. The St. Louis Zoo will stay closed through the weekend for the sake of public safety. Luckily, when the storm came through, the zoo says there were no injuries to any staff, guests, or animals. All zoo residents are safe and accounted for. However, the butterfly dome, which I know a lot of people really enjoy, was destroyed, and it's going to take a long time to clean up.
Thousands of limbs, really large limbs that are still hanging in the trees, and that's our biggest challenge right now. I think we'll have most of the paths cleared by the end of today, but we still have a lot of large trees that have been cut up, moved off site, and then a lot of climbers we're going to have to get up into the trees to remove those large limbs, because that's where the safety concern really is, which is why we made the decision to close for at least one more day tomorrow.
The Make Tracks Through the Zoo, that was slated for tomorrow, that's been canceled, but anyone who signed up for it can still remotely race. But the zoo asks you do so in a safe area. Another area where recovery is underway right now following yesterday's powerful tornado outbreak is the Northside's Fountain Park neighborhood. 5 on your side's Travis Cummings talked to folks in that historic area on their mission to mobilize.
Pretty heartbroken. I mean, this statue has so much significance.
If there was ever a symbol of a city in distress, it's this bronze statue of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. lying on the ground.
There are people that come from all over the state just to come to this park and see this statue.
It's a centerpiece in the Fountain Park neighborhood, marking the destruction from Friday afternoon's tornadoes. Tree limbs now rest where families once gathered. Shattered windows and mangled roofs tell the story of a storm that took just minutes to change everything. Dr. King's spirit of service has Stefan West, who's lived on this block for 20 years, out clearing debris.
I'm very passionate about my city of St. Louis, hence the shirt. You know, we love black-owned businesses, but we definitely bonded together on our block, and we still out here working as well. It's a lot of work to do, but we definitely pulled together to help our neighbors.
Some of the most vulnerable are on his block.
We actually have a couple families that have special needs, and we have a lot of elderly neighbors over here. So a lot of them they can't get out and do, the simple things.
There is a lot to recover from.
I could not even contact anyone because we've been without power all night. And so my heart and my social services, we're hitting the doors and making sure that the youth and our seniors are taken care of and those that are in need. And this is complete devastation.
Water, clothing, anything you can provide to help.
The days ahead will be long, but can be done with love, something Dr. King fought for.
Showing love to each other, showing love to our community, leading by example.
Travis Cummings, 5 on your side.
Now, if you want to help out, there is a group of clergy near the Fountain Park neighborhood set up on Delmar and Euclid. Right now, you can stop by there through the night to pick up or drop off donations. Tonight, we're learning a 70-year-old woman died during the storm on Cote Brilliant in the Jeff Vanderloo neighborhood. 5 on your side's Robert Townsend is there now. He's been speaking with the victim's family today. Robert.
Hey, Mike, we've been talking to family members, friends, and neighbors of 70-year-old Dolores Holmes. A lot of them obviously right now are grieving. This entire neighborhood was hit hard by that powerful tornado. Look at this. Look at what's left of the Holmes family's house of 50 years. Right now you can see 2 levels, a bedroom and dining room were upstairs, and their living room and foyer were downstairs. 19-year-old Kayla Hobson and her 4 loved ones lived here. Kayla, you were inside. Walk us through the nightmare.
So I was getting ready for work. I had went to the bathroom to try to fix my hair, and then all of a sudden I heard I heard like the stuff started shaking, and then the light started flickering. So I walked out the bathroom, and I goes in my room. I stop, and I'm just like, "What's going on?" And it's still shaking. And as my sister walks in, it's still shaking, so I'm like, get down, get down, get down. So we gets down, and then 5 seconds later, everything just started coming in. Like,
how terrifying was that as the bricks were crashing?
Terrifying, so terrifying. Like, it was just a lot of sand in my eyes. I couldn't see. I was just scared. And then as soon as it stopped a little, we started to run downstairs to
Who
the first
was
floor.
inside the house with you?
My grandparents.
And your twin sister?
And my twin sister,
and
yes.
uncle?
Yes.
Everybody's okay?
Yes, everybody.
How did you all get out?
We had to climb. You see there, right there? It's an opening right there. We had to use a chair, and then somebody else, like the neighbors, had to help us down.
How thankful are you that they helped you?
Very thankful. Thank you.
Physically, how are you doing?
Good.
Emotionally, mentally?
It's a little shaky, but it's going to get there.
It's still jarring.
Yeah.
And you are just home from University of Missouri St. Louis. You finished your freshman year. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I finished. I came back Thursday with all my stuff packed, and now everything's going.
Yeah. When you look back at this, I mean, it's only been 24 hours. What are you thinking?
Where do I start? Just where do I start? That's all.
I'm so sorry. I can see you tearing up. Thanks a lot for taking the time during this difficult time. Again, we've been walking you through the devastation here in North St. Louis. I want to take you back there too. Look at that humongous tree snapped in half like a toothpick during the storm. In the back there, that house, the roof on what used to be somebody's house just ripped right off. Again, that's the picture up and down the street. If we swing this way, Sam, I want to show them this too. This man has been living in this house, I'm told, for a long time here on Cote Brilliant and Cora. Look at that, just a humongous pile of rubble. He is there sitting there in that chair there. You can see a red shirt on the back of that chair. He's just so devastated, just been silent all day. You can only imagine what he's thinking. His livelihood went right before his eyes, destroyed, just strewn everywhere when that horrific tornado ripped through this area around 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon. And again, at the top of this live shot, we told you about Dolores Holmes' house. That's it back there, that 3-story brick house, what used to be her house. Her family members tell me she was just inside that house when the storm ripped through. Her son rushed home and found his mom sadly dead on the floor in the basement. And what's more, today is his birthday, and Reginald Holmes is now Mike, sadly, preparing his mom's funeral. I'll send it back to you.
And Robert, when you look at that house with the front that has been sheared off, if you didn't know better and you were just looking at that picture, you'd almost think it was a dollhouse. It's that obviously it's a real house on a much bigger scale, but that's kind of what it looks like, and you can tell how sad that devastation is. Can you give me an idea in that community how people are coming together to try and clean up?
All we've seen for the last few hours is that a lot of family members are still kind of coming in. Even as we swing here, I'm seeing more people coming in their cars. A lot of folks are just really still waking up to all this damage, and they're saying, hey, look, we are far from cleaning up. I got to tell you, I talked to one of Dolores Holmes' goddaughters, and she was just in tears when she said, screaming, we need help, we need help. Tell the mayor, tell the governor, we need help. You can see the devastation, all the trash, the piles and piles of wood, bricks, splendors, and siding all on the ground. These people haven't even begun to clean up. As they sit around, even as you swing this way, Sam, you can see more of these folks are just sitting here, shaking their heads, nodding their heads, because they're just devastated. They're filled with tears. These people are at a loss. This one woman told me they have nothing to really lean on right now but each other. And so, yeah, that definitely looks like a devastated dollhouse as we swing back and you see it again. So, yeah, these people are far from cleaning up, Mike. They are just sitting here in disbelief.
And any idea where some of these folks will be sleeping tonight? Do they have relatives? Are they aware of some of the resources that are available?
I'm happy to.
Okay, we've lost Robert for now, but we will get back to him. As we mentioned earlier, we've got a lot of reporters all around the region. They've been seeing a lot of this devastation, including our Megan Kernan, who is live for us tonight. Megan.
Yeah, Mike, we are hearing from the family of one of the men who was killed in the storms yesterday. I was live out here yesterday showing you a truck that was completely smashed by this uprooted tree here in Carondelet Park. We now know 48-year-old Juan Baltazar was inside that truck driving over here when he was killed. Tonight, for the first time, we're hearing from Juan's wife, who says her husband was the most incredible man. Juan was driving on his way home from work yesterday when a tree in Carondelet Park came crashing down onto his blue Ford, killing him instantly. He was less than half a mile away from home. Juan was well known in the community as the owner of his food truck, El Mandalone, known for his roasted street corn. His wife, Rachel, tells us he has 7 kids, 3 here in the U.S. and 4 in Mexico. Rachel and Juan share 2 kids together, 3 and 6 years old. His family wanted to share his story, but weren't ready to go on camera quite yet.
We love him and we're gonna miss him. The kids, they don't even really know yet. And I think it's gonna be twice as hard once I see they figure it out. A lot of people are gonna miss him. He knew a lot of people.
And Juan was such a beloved man, he was a huge figure in the Latino community. And Rachel tells us that she's received a ton of support from the Latino community. We know that the Hispanic Leaders Group of St. Louis is in contact with their family, just offering their support. And Rachel has set up a GoFundMe, which you can find on ksdk.com and the As Seen on TV section. Mike.
Megan, we've heard so many of these terrible stories, these tragic stories. I'm just wondering, you've been in and around the Central West End and other places in the city. Give me an idea what's going through your mind the day after these devastating storms and what you are seeing.
I mean, yesterday it was a lot to process. What would take normally a 15-minute drive from downtown St. Louis to North City, we were going to Vernon, on where there was a collapsed home that was just almost basically demolished. The roof was completely collapsed in, and you know, just the traffic and just seeing it took probably an hour and 45 minutes for us to even get there. And we had such horrible service, as you know, there was, so many people are still without power, but just seeing all of the down trees and seeing all of the down power lines. And then finally we had to actually walk through, a street where there was huge trees down. We had to walk over it to get to this house. And once we were there and we were talking to the owner, they had had that house. It was a multi-family home. 8 people lived inside of there. Thankfully, nobody was hurt. But once we were there, she was just devastated and just couldn't even put it into words yet. And really, that's what we've been seeing just all throughout the community. We had heard that, this man, at the time we didn't know Juan was the person who was inside the truck, but we had heard that a man had died near Carondelet Park. And when we went over here and just seeing his truck, we actually saw it. You saw some of those images where the truck was on the tow truck getting ready to be towed out of Carondelet Park, and just seeing that truck and now knowing who was inside there, and just 7 kids, his wife, just such a beloved community member. It's truly just heartbreaking, and it seems like we're just beginning to hear a lot of these, similar stories of just heartbreak. But we're also, while we're hearing such tragic stories, we're hearing so many people coming together, throughout St. Louis. The resilience is truly outstanding. I think that has been the most impactful part, as we've been covering these storms since yesterday. Definitely just, how many neighbors are stepping up together, especially to help this family out, is truly remarkable.
And do you get a sense that people are aware, the people that have been devastated by these storms, of all the resources that are now available to them? Mayor Spencer is praising first responders for working around the clock, and city employees working around the clock. And we know there are shelters, people are trying to help out with donations. Do we know if some of the people that you've been talking to, are they aware that there are resources out there and they're not alone?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think just from the people that we have talked to, and even just the family, offering the resources that we have to be able to give them and to get them into contact with the right people. I definitely think that they are aware, and hopefully, as we can put that message out there. I know when I was watching the press conference earlier this morning, like that was one of the main points that the mayor said, like, we want to make sure we are getting all of the resources out to the community so everybody, can get a hold of them. Especially, it might be difficult because so many people are still without power. They might not be able to charge their phones to even be able to see these resources. So hopefully, we're able to put that message out there of all of the resources that are available to people who have been impacted.
All right, Megan, thanks very much for joining us. We want to go to another one of our reporters who has been covering these devastating storms. That's Annie Krall. Annie, it seems like you've been on the storm beat for months now. This has been going on. You were at this news conference today, city leaders with a briefing. What was your takeaway from that briefing?
That's right, Michael. We just heard from Mayor Kara Spencer, who said, hands down, this is one of the worst storms the city has ever seen. But I want to talk about the first responders who are right behind me. I'm on Delmar Boulevard, so of course one of the spots has been hit very much so by yesterday's storm. We heard from the fire chief just a few minutes ago, 62 square miles, 62. That's the number of square miles that their entire crews have been sweeping, looking for trapped people. Of course, we were able to see from Mark Maxwell a real-time rescue with one of those trap situations. But they've had 62 square miles to go through, and tonight it is finally going to come to the end. They have their one last stretch of searching for people. That should end hopefully around 7 o'clock, so we're less than an hour away from fire crews in St. Louis, hopefully being done with checking every single street. That's what we heard from the fire chief just a couple minutes ago. They've checked every street in St. Louis. They've knocked on every single door, and I was able to speak with a woman who's been able to hit on some of those doors as well, checking on people as well in the area of Fountain Park. Now, we were hearing from Travis Cummings about that church. It's Centennial Christian Church in Fountain Park that unfortunately had a deadly collapse. There were 3 people inside Centennial Christian Church around 3 o'clock yesterday, and of those 3 people, one of them was killed. We've heard from family members. Her name was Patricia Ann Pendleton, and Patricia was there as a volunteer. She's from Baldwin. I spoke with a woman who actually has worked with her at the church. Apparently, Mike, what I'm learning, she was an incredible woman, a mother, beloved in the church. And when I asked what was Patricia doing at the time at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Friday when everything came down? Well, she was doing what God intended. She was helping people. She was volunteering. Actually, Patricia was known since 2020 to pack lunches during COVID. She was packing warm meals and starting a weekend program to try and feed the neighborhood and the community in Fountain Park. So she was genuinely beloved, is the word that I keep hearing over and over again about Patricia. Now, Patricia, of course, is one of 5 fatalities that so far we've confirmed from city officials in hearings. So there are 4 other families just like Patricia's who have been hurt and impacted by yesterday's storm. So we've been able to hear from fire crews who are doing all of that checking and going door to door in streets, but it's also just families who have been hurt and impacted. Across the street from Centennial Church, there's the Simmons family. Their house completely destroyed, brick after brick after brick. And I spoke with one of the family members who told me, Annie, luckily that there wasn't anyone injured inside the home, but it's taking tarps and taking clothes and taking box and box out of the home, because now they have to figure out where are they going to stay, what are they going to do. So of course this cleanup process has only just begun. It's been less than 24 hours, maybe even less than 36 hours at this point with the storms rolling through. But that Fountain Park area I keep talking about, Mike, has been really, really hard hit. And of course the officials who we just heard from on Del Mar have been really focusing in that area, which is less than 5 minutes from where we're standing right now.
And Andy, you talked about Chief Jenkerson and the St. Louis Fire Department doing that sweep. Chief Robert Tracy was also a part of this briefing, and it sounds like he's mobilizing everyone with 12-hour shifts.
That's the thing, Mike. It's that 12-hour shifts. When we asked him, what does that look like? What prep can we do heading into future storms? I mean, that 12 hours, mobilizing every single unit that they have, trying to rotate them out, make sure officers are quote unquote fresh. It's hard because people are trying to sleep, they're trying to eat, they're trying to get, honestly, water, which at one point was really, really difficult. But yes, it's that Chief Tracy talking to us a couple of minutes ago, those 12-hour shifts, mobilizing everyone out in the units. And when I asked Mayor Spencer, what are we looking at heading into future storm coverage, future years where something like this happens, she said over and over again, so proud of the first responders and how they've been able to get out there, get in the communities and just do their jobs as well as they were able to over the last couple of hours, last 2 days basically. So yes, of course, the chief of police working very, very hard in tandem with the fire crews, because as you saw during that press conference, you have to have so many organizations all working hand in hand together.
And Annie, he mentioned a curfew, a 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfew, but it's not for the entire city, right?
That's right, Mike. So if you're in the 56th district, you're focused on that 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfew. So that should be happening, of course, in about 3 hours or so. 9 p.m. is going to hit until 6 a.m. And the reason they're doing that, Mike, is because they want to be able to make sure their crews can get out safely, operate around. Of course, as we heard from Ameren, they still have 66,000 customers without power. You walk around streets like this and there's not a whole lot of lighting unless you're coming from a camera light that we'll probably have to be using at 10 o'clock tonight. But all of the street lights are out. A lot of the street lights are even down and power lines are, of course, down. So it's that 9 p.m. to 6 a.m., but only in the 56th district. The more blanket term, if you can use that, is if you're out in the city and you don't have to be, please stay at home, please stay safe. There's still so many power lines that are down. Now is not the time to go out recreationally and check on this damage. It's still too unsafe. There's still too much cleanup to be done. But yes, if you're in that 56th district, that 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfew is still currently in place.
We know the Red Cross mobilizing forces and the Urban League, they said they're going door to door distributing food. What's going on behind you? It looks like something's going on behind you too, Annie.
Yeah, so like I said, Mike, we're right on that Del Mar Boulevard. So you have, I can't even call it anything better than a command center, a central space. So we have those first responders, you have fire crews right over here in the Aldi's parking lot. We've got Kings Highway a little bit farther down. And then, of course, all of the police. So you have all of these crews, honestly, Mike, taking a second to just come together, recognize where they need to go, what are the worst spaces that still have to be done. We were able to hear a little bit more about what needs to happen, where they have to head. And as we said, it's at 7 o'clock tonight, final sweep with the fire crews. But I was talking to a woman earlier who said it's Euclid Avenue where she was going door to door checking in a very similar way to many of these first responders, having the civilians do very similar things to what they're doing, going door to door and knocking. And on that Euclid Avenue, when I was speaking with that volunteer, that woman in the Fountain Park area, she said, Annie, I heard about a 4-month-old who was trapped inside trying to get outside. So what's happening behind me is just, of course, the official, that administrative, what the city is responding with. But we've heard over and over again about how many civilians are doing their part to try and get out and door knock and clean up the debris and the trapped. And when I was in North St. Louis yesterday, the brooms, the sweeping up, the tree limbs, everything that's just coming together. It's not an easy moment in time. This next day afterwards hasn't been easy at all, but we've been very fortunate to see the city coming together as well as so many of the civilians coming together.
And we're just getting started. All right, Annie, thanks so much. 5 on Your Side, you remember, was on the scene as first responders pulled off an hours-long rescue of a man trapped beneath the rubble of his own home. Our Mark Maxwell shows how people in the community brace for the worst in the face of disaster.
It's hard to measure the force of a storm. There's the speed of the wind.
When the windows start busting and Bree hit me all in the face.
The volume of the alarms.
Just bing, bing, start beeping off and it said take cover now.
The cost of the damage.
My roof is gone.
And how long you've called a place home.
For about 40 years.
But then there are moments when property values just can't quite sum it all up. Those are harder to measure, but when it hits, you know it.
Today has been what I would call an eventful day.
In the middle of frightening tragedy, people here looked past the rubble to see if their friends and loved ones made it out.
Everybody's fine. I was more worried about my neighbor right there, Mike, than I am about me. God gonna provide for me.
Mike made it out, just barely, but there's no way to measure it really, so let's just say it was a close call.
And I was hiding right there between that wall and a refrigerator and a couch.
Farther down the littered street, a more dire emergency.
They're trying to gain access through a small entry, it looks like. It's still a desperate scene here. We also just saw a firefighter enter into that basement window. They finally used a crowbar to pry off the iron bars that sealed that window of the basement shut.
Then they heard a voice.
Right here.
Inside, trapped under 2 stories of brick, steel, and wood, 45-year-old Garfield Lacey. Outside, his sister, his niece, his brother, his mom. Frantic, hugging, holding on to hope that this too would become a close call. Standing next to them, hearing their pleas for help, there's no way to measure how long these 3 dreadful hours must have felt for them, except to hear it for yourself. That moment, doubt and grief morphed into gratitude and relief.
We feel blessed.
We sat down with Garfield's sister and her family outside of the home where they grew up.
I'm happy that he's okay, but I'm also really sad because I've lived in his house since I was, like 5 months, and all my life. Me and my cousins, we grew up here, and it's just all the memories and stuff.
They'll never walk into that house again, but they still have the people who helped make it a home. Firefighter Pat was one of the first on the scene, surprised at Garfield's condition after struggling under all that crushing weight.
Considering the building collapsed on him, he's doing great.
So how do you measure this close call? In this case, with 2 thumbs up. In St. Louis, Mark Maxwell, 5 on Your Side.
All right, Jim Castillo is back with another look at our weather impact forecast as we continue to get more information about what happened yesterday and then what's ahead for us about 48 hours from now.
Yes, Monday's that day. Again, we'll be watching the sky, and a weather impact alert has been issued, and that's for really later Monday and Monday night. More on that coming up. But Tracy Henson, meteorologist, was running around yesterday and helping us out. Wildwood, we had this, looks like a funnel for sure, could very well have been the beginning of what turned into that, at times, mile-wide tornado and likely multiple vortices. And when we talk about that, look at this one in Des Arc. Here's a vort right there, and there's one right there, and there's one right there. So even within this entire thing rotating, you have multiple vortices, and that's exactly what we were seeing down in southern Iron County. And then eventually one of them just actually touches down. They're finding EF2 damage in this one. So just incredible video coming out of that. Now, the St. Louis history on tornadoes, the red ones are the bigger or larger ones, like the EF4 at times on this path. This one went almost west to east. This one was in 2011, the one that hit St. Louis Lambert International Airport and made major news. 1967, right there. Some of my family members remember this one that moved through North County in EF4. The 1896 tornado, also in EF4. EF4, not really listed on here, but then we also have the 1959 tornado and that path moving southwest to northeast. Most of them move in a southwest to northeast direction with the upper level winds. They move in that direction, but you can see that some of them move due east in some of these paths. And we were noticing that from yesterday's system, so it'll be interesting to find out where the Weather Service actually has that path and irons it out for us coming up. Likely tomorrow. EF3 damage again from this tornado from yesterday, the afternoon hours, Greaterville neighborhood, Kingsway East, and Fountain Park. EF3 damage, what does that mean? Well, EF3 damage as much and as high as 136 to 165 mile per hour winds, causing severe damage. And the ones I was pointing out with EF4 damage, 166 to 200 miles an hour. So that's, we've had some monsters around here. I haven't seen any EF5s, but those are the worst you can get. All right, so the tornado reports again, still watching to see the exact path of this, but we did see it definitely touching down Clayton first, and then it moved through the central west end or even North City, really. So it might have very well went from southwest to northeast. And then friends in Granite City, numerous pictures coming in of big time damage there around Venice and also Granite City. So hail reports, yeah, remember yesterday we were talking about that large hail first, and then we were starting to see tornado reports. And then those tornado reports ended up all over southeast Missouri, southern Illinois, and into Indiana, along with the high wind reports and also the very large hail at times. And we were getting pictures of all that in there until this giant tornado moved through the city of St. Louis. And there's that radar of that one cell that was really a supercell that moved right through North City. All right, let's check out this on the Doppler weather radar. Again, that pink area here, it does look like maybe it moved from southwest to northeast or maybe in an east-northeast direction right through Clayton and into North City. And again, a mile wide at times. That's why there's so much damage in the area. And we zoom in about 2:46 p.m. You see this hook right here. And Scotty and I were noticing that last night, and we knew we were in trouble. And it was already reported on the ground in Clayton when this hook actually formed. And likely seeing some debris out there. So let's take a look at this again. Very fascinating. I'll get out of the way so you can see it. If you watch carefully, again, this is at about 2:41 p.m., a 36-second clip. And really, this is just wind and rain. And likely within this, where you see this whole area is spinning up here and counterclockwise, and you see this power flash, and likely one of those vorts hits the power lines, knocks them down, and we get, there it is right there, that power flash that pops up. Often in these big tornadoes, we'll look for that and see if the storm reports out there and the storm trackers are seeing any power flashes, knowing at that point that it is on the ground. So then we were getting reports of all the damage. Here is a 100 above the park sign that's right on Kings Highway down there. And then these trees right on West Pine, there's one there, there's one right behind it. Numerous uprooted trees, a pillow that was kind of hanging out there. It might have actually come from somebody's apartment. There we go, West Pine, Kings Highway, a tree down on a car, and this one near Boyle Avenue. So power outages, there's still a lot of people without power out there, but they're improving. And the satellite radar, we'll get to this. You can see the clouds moving in tonight. We're still watching this area of severe weather that's going to stay out here tonight. So we're good tonight. We're good tomorrow. And then that chance of seeing severe weather in here as we get into Monday. So 74 right now, west wind at about 17 miles an hour. Partly cloudy tonight, 58. Lows in the 50s. It's really comfortable. There may be a spot shower in our southern county tomorrow morning or late tonight into tomorrow morning. Then we get into Sunday. Again, we should be fine. About 79 for that high temperature. But then we'll watch this cluster of storms out here. This warm front comes into play here. So we're dry tomorrow afternoon and about 76, 77, somewhere in there in the mid to upper 70s. But then that severe weather threat on Monday, and it's Monday afternoon and night. We might see an early morning storm with some hail, but what we're concerned about is the potential of even seeing tornadoes again as we get into Monday night, and especially in our western counties, because the western counties are in an enhanced level 3 out of 5. Then St. Louis is level 2 out of 5, and then our eastern counties level 1 out of 5. So likely these storms will weaken as they move east, but here's that futurecast showing that chance of a rain shower tomorrow morning in our southern counties. We're good most of the day tomorrow. And there it is, 4:15 a.m. on Monday. That first batch of showers and storms and likely hail, the threat there, maybe some wind with that. Then we are good until we get till the afternoon and evening. We'll watch these things explode again and then get into Tuesday. Chance of rain early on Wednesday, but look at how much rain could fall. We're talking 2 to as much as 3 inches of rain. But tonight it's dry, partly cloudy, and here's that 7-day forecast. Weather impact alert again Monday afternoon and night. 79 tomorrow, it's a good day for cleanup. Then on Monday, 77, 78 Tuesday, and really good chance of rain in here, off and on showers and storms. We're drier as we get into next Thursday, but boy, I think we're all sick of this, aren't we?
Oh, we sure are. It's just fatigue, I think, because it keeps coming one wave after another.
Right.
I'm just curious because when we looked ahead to this storm the other day, the big concern was hail. So what happens to a storm when hail is the big concern, but it also turns into a tornado?
Okay, so hail, you get that bigger hail, you're getting those extremely large updrafts, right? And so when you get those really strong updrafts, you get the really big hail. And then when those updrafts decide to come down to the ground, you get the tornadoes. Yeah.
All right, so we have been talking about how devastating this tornado was, one of the worst in St. Louis history, but you mentioned earlier 1959.
Right.
So that was another devastating storm. Talk a little bit about that.
Sure, yeah, I believe it was, again, there's some video, right there. So the Channel 2 tower actually came down, and also part of the arena. Remember the old arena? The roof came off. Over 22 died in this storm alone, and a little bit more, and I think the same amount of injuries really from this one. This was an EF4 at its greatest strength, so a little bit stronger than what we're seeing with this one, but still horrendous. 1959, a horrible tornado through here. I remember my family members talking about it, and I was always terrified and happy that we didn't really see anything like this when I grew up as a kid.
Yeah.
And now we're starting to see some of this stuff again.
Yeah, and then there was the Good Friday tornado. I'll tell you a little story.
Yeah.
We were sent here from Channel 5, photographer Eric Voss and I were sent to do a story on a veteran out in San Diego when it hit, and then the boss called and said, you got to get back as soon as possible. Wow. We couldn't get a flight back to St. Louis because obviously Lambert was closed because the storm hit Lambert.
Sure.
So we flew into Kansas City and drove all night to get on the air for Today in St. Louis the next morning.
So 2011 was that one, and that was an EF4 at its strongest point.
Right, and when I went to the neighborhood to see the devastation, it was awful. It was just really terrible to see. You could see how badly these storms can really affect people.
Oh, and there's Lambert now.
Yeah, that's Lambert.
Yeah, I think it was Terminal C.
Correct.
That we're looking at. Yeah, wow. And there's some of the damage.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering, because when we talk about tornadoes and we talk about the St. Louis area, usually we're talking about more rural communities. That's usually where it hits.
True.
It seems things have changed. It seems like there were, I don't know if you call them tornado alleys, that don't exist anymore for some reason.
Well, you know, one thing we all want you to know is that we definitely can have these at any point in time. And I know it seems like we cry wolf sometimes, and we do have a lot of tornadoes out in the farmland areas, but they can hit the city. And when we have the perfect ingredients coming together, you get these monsters that can come right through the city of St. Louis, and that's what happened yesterday.
Well, and the goal for you guys and for all of us who are here is to make sure people are safe. And you say cry wolf, but really, unless you're letting people know this is going on, they may not know about it otherwise.
Right. And it's horrible that this happened, but now everybody's really paying attention.
Yeah. Well, we know this has been a very difficult time for a lot of families out there. We showed you the news conference earlier, Mayor Kara Spencer praising the first responders who've done an absolutely amazing job, and also city workers who have been working 24/7 as well. We do want to let you know that the St. Louis Zoo is going to stay closed through the weekend for the sake of public safety. Luckily, the zoo says there were no injuries to any staff, guests, or animals. All zoo residents are safe and accounted for. The Butterfly Dome, however, was destroyed, and we're told it's going to take a long time to clean up.
Thousands of limbs, really large limbs that are still hanging in the trees, and that's our biggest challenge right now. I think we'll have most of the paths cleared by the end of today, but we still have a lot of large trees that have to be cut up, moved off site, and then a lot of climbers we're going to have to get up into the trees to remove those large limbs, because that's where the safety concern really is, which is why we made the decision to close for at least one more day tomorrow.
And there's a program, Make Tracks Through the Zoo, that was slated for tomorrow. That's been canceled. Anyone who signed up can still compete in the race remotely, but the zoo asks you to do so in a safe area. Another area where recovery is underway right now following yesterday's powerful tornado outbreak is the North Side's Fountain Park neighborhood. 5 on your side's Travis Cummings talked to folks in that historic area on a mission to mobilize.
Pretty heartbroken. I mean, this statue has so much significance.
If there was ever a symbol of a city in distress, it's this bronze statue of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. lying on the ground.
There are people that come from all over the state just to come to this park and see this statue.
It's a centerpiece in the Fountain Park neighborhood, marking the destruction from Friday afternoon's tornadoes. Tree limbs now rest where families once gathered. Shattered windows and mangled roofs tell the story of a storm that took just minutes to change everything. Dr. King's spirit of service, says Stefan West, who's lived on this block for 20 years, out clearing debris.
I'm very passionate about my city of St. Louis, hence the shirt. You know, we love black-owned businesses, but we definitely bonded together on our block, and we still out here working as well. It's a lot of work to do, but we definitely pulled together to help our neighbors.
Some of the most vulnerable are on his block.
We actually have a couple families that have special needs, and we have a lot of elderly neighbors over here. So a lot of them they can't get out and do, the simple things.
There is a lot to recover from.
I could not even contact anyone because we've been without power all night. And so my heart and my social services, we're hitting the doors and making sure that the youth and our seniors are taken care of and those that are in need. And this is complete devastation.
Water, clothing, anything you can provide to help.
The days ahead will be long, but can be done with love, something Dr. King fought for.
Showing love to each other, showing love to our community, leading by example.
Travis Cummings, 5 on your side.
And if you want to help out, there's a group of clergy near the Fountain Park neighborhood set up on Delmar and Euclid right now. You can stop by there through the night to pick up or drop off donations.
I present to you the Granite City High School graduated class of 2025.
A sign of hope on a dark day. Granite City High School graduating seniors tossed up their caps this morning in celebration after the storms hit their school yesterday, which postponed the ceremony. A spokesperson with the Granite City Community Unit School District tells us the storm hit the Prather Pre-K and Kindergarten Center, damaging the roof. The school is working with contractors through the weekend to fix things up. The district plans to have students back in class on Monday as scheduled. As we've been telling you, we have learned that a 70-year-old woman died during the storm on Cote Brilliant in the Jeff Vanderloo neighborhood. Let's check back in with our Robert Townsend. Robert.
Hey, Mike, again, a lot of heavy hearts out here in this North Side neighborhood. We've kind of gotten back out to the street here, but back there, you see that family. That's the family that's now mourning 70-year-old Dolores Holmes. The matriarch of their family was here in the house where she's raised her children and some grandchildren. She's a great grandma. In fact, that's what she was to her family. They loved this woman. She was inside the house when the storm roared through this area and ripped off the roof and the second level of this 3-story house. All of the debris and rubble and bricks and siding, you saw it there on the side. And this family's just trying to push through it all with all those heavy hearts. Then in the very back there, the storm ripped off the entire front a part of that house on Cora Avenue. A family was inside, a husband, wife, twin grandchildren, and an uncle. 5 people all thankfully got out safely. And again, they're right now just trying to piece together their lives. Fortunately, a lot of folks are now calling 211. But before we even tell you more about that, I want to swing this way and show you a lot of houses on this street here on Cote Brilliant were just wiped off, roofs ripped off, sidings ripped off. The porch is no longer there. Trees snapped in half, and the far ground there too. You see a blue tarp on a house just ripped right off. The storm left a lot of damage here in this neighborhood. Again, the good thing is I can tell you as far as what we've seen being here this afternoon, some neighbors are pulling up in their cars with lots and lots of bottles of water for those people out here who are thirsty. Others are bringing in snacks and sandwiches just to help out here. So in the face of all this heartbreak and sadness and devastation, this community, this neighborhood is trying to come together and show some love and support for each other. Mike?
And Robert, give me your takeaway because, you know, we've been covering these storms now for what seems like months. It's probably been more like weeks. How does this storm, which obviously was more devastating than some of the other ones that we covered, how is this storm, you know, how are you processing it in terms of being a reporter and seeing people react to it compared to some of the other stuff we've been through this spring?
Well, let me tell you this. I've been a news reporter for more than 20 years now, and this is the worst I've ever seen. Having grown up in St. Louis, I personally know a lot of folks who live in this north side area, this Ville neighborhood, and so it's really hitting home for me in more ways than one. I can tell you this, so many people said that they watched our forecast this week and they heard the forecasters. They heard Scott O'Connell and our team talking about how, hey, look, don't be surprised by all the sunshine you see on Friday morning. Definitely be prepared to take cover when the storm blows through. And a lot of folks told me that they really, quite honestly, didn't think it was going to happen. And when it happened, some folks were caught off guard. Some people thankfully were able to get to their basement safely. But again, a lot of folks are looking at Mother Nature differently today. A lot of folks in this neighborhood saying, wow, what an impact this storm had on this neighborhood. And a lot of folks, I think, are a little bit more weather conscious, a little bit more weather weary, and definitely not taking Mother Nature for granted. Mike?
I know a lot of these houses have been on these blocks for a long time, and it's still very early. Have you heard anything about the families wanting to rebuild? Again, very early, maybe they don't even know yet, but what are you hearing in terms of that?
Yeah, I asked one lady, I said, what are you thinking about? She says, hey, look, I'm just trying to get through the night. You know, a lot of folks haven't even started to begin to process that right now. These folks, again, when your house, your entire house is just ripped off right before your eyes, they say, hey, look, we can't think about that right now. These folks, again, I just want to show you, these folks are making hot dog sandwiches and barbecuing and just trying to come together as a family, console each other that way. That's the Holmes family that's mourning their matriarch, their grandmother, their mom. A lot of folks just trying to take it second by second, minute by minute. The mental process is extremely difficult, obviously, during this tough time.
I guess it's a blessing that at least we have some sunshine today, even though there are some storms in the forecast a couple of days from now. But it's nice that they have a little bit of a break and you know, can gather together and do stuff like that. Robert, thanks very much. Let's go back out to Megan Kernan, who has also been talking to people who have been devastated by this storm. Megan has a devastating story that you know, it's almost kind of random that you're driving along and then your car is crushed by a tree. But that's one of her stories, and she's been covering it for a couple of days now. Megan.
Yeah, Mike, we talked to the wife of that man who was killed in yesterday's deadly storms. Still shocked, as you can imagine. I was live out here yesterday in our storm coverage showing you a truck that was completely smashed by this uprooted tree back here in Carondelet Park. We didn't know any of the details yet, but we now know that it was 48-year-old Juan Baltazar. He was driving right here when he was killed. Juan's known and loved in the Latino community for his kindness, generosity, and support. Juan was on his way home from work yesterday. He was driving when a huge tree in Carondelet Park came crashing down onto his blue Ford, killing him instantly. He was less than a half a mile away from home. Juan was well known in the community as the owner of his food truck, El Mandalone, known for his roasted street corn. His wife, Rachel, tells us he has 7 kids, 3 here in the U.S. and 4 in Mexico. Rachel and Juan share 2 kids together, just 3 and 6 years old. His family wanted to share his story, but weren't ready to go on camera.
We love him and we're gonna miss him. The kids, they don't even really know yet. And I think it's going to be twice as hard once I see they figure it out. A lot of people are going to miss him. He knew a lot of people.
And you saw his kids right there. Like Rachel said, his kids are so young. They don't even know that their dad is gone. Just truly heartbreaking. These are some of the heartbreaking stories that we're learning from yesterday's storm. And if you would like to help Juan's family, Rachel has set up a GoFundMe, and you can find that link on ksdk.com in the As Seen on TV section. Mike?
And Megan, I know the Red Cross is mobilizing resources. I know the Urban League is doing the same. Have you seen first responders out? Have you seen the Red Cross out? Kind of give us an idea of, I know it's very early and the cleanup has barely begun, but have you seen any signs of that yet?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at first, I went out to North City yesterday. I was near Vernon, where a multifamily home was basically, demolished from yesterday's storm. And there was city workers out walking around. At least I know. I haven't seen any Red Cross responders, but I did see, city workers out there just trying to get a hold of how many homes have been damaged. And I know when I was talking to her, it was, pretty soon after the storms had hit, and she had said that there were many homes that she was walking around just, trying to get around to these people to offer their support. I know yesterday it was really difficult because of all the traffic, because of all of the down trees and down power lines. And so I'm sure today there's even more, as the day after, just getting out there to be able to give these people the support that they need.
And I know you mentioned in an earlier report how long it took you to get from downtown basically to the Central West End, and it shouldn't take very long, but it took you an hour and a half because the streets were so blocked off. Can you give me an idea how the streets are looking now? And I mean, we're noticing behind you, I don't know how much debris was in the road behind you, but cars are going by, at least where you are right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know how much more damage specifically in this area. We're on Grand Drive, right outside of Carondelet Park, but you can see, multiple down trees, multiple trees that have been uprooted. One of them that, tragically killed Juan in his truck. But right in this area, we haven't seen too much damage, but I remember at first when we were driving through Central West End right after the storms hit, I was just in shock. I mean, I took my phone out to record just all of the people in the street and just all of the down trees. Several of them were on people's cars, on people's homes, and you just saw, everybody just walking around looking at all of the destruction. I saw some businesses that were damaged, windows that were broken, glass everywhere. So it was truly just, the damage was incredible to see. It was heartbreaking, so much destruction in this community, and that was just one area, as well as North City. They were hit really hard, and just seeing several of the homes that were damaged was horrible.
All right, Megan, thanks so much. We want to go once again now to Annie Krall. She has moved locations. She is now at the Centennial Church, which collapsed yesterday, and that turned out to be a tragedy. So let's go to Annie. She joins us now live. Annie.
That's right, Mike. I'm on Fountain Avenue. I'm right at that Centennial Christian Church, and I just want to take you a little bit closer because we now had some stuff clear up. It's a little bit before 7 o'clock. This is the devastation that we're walking into. You have bricks upon bricks. We had one woman tell us it looks like a bomb has gone off here in Centennial Christian Church. I'm right by the railing. Of course, it's Saturday, but tomorrow would have been Sunday. There would have been services. This is one of the railings that would have been led up to the church. It should have been packed with people, and of course, that is no longer possible. If you look at the church, it is doors locked, and cleanup has only just begun. Unfortunately, we know that there was a woman inside who was killed because of the roof collapse. There were 2 other people inside of the church when it came down a little bit around 3 o'clock on Friday afternoon. So 3 total people inside the church, and one of those fatalities is one of the 5 that we've seen in St. Louis so far, confirmed by officials. And we just heard a couple minutes ago new information as of tonight that there were ages in range from 32 to 82 when it comes to those 5 fatalities, and one of them unfortunately happened here at the Centennial Church. But we were able to speak with a family just across the street on Fountain Avenue, and they're basically telling us that it's just some of the devastation because they've lived in this house for years, and now this is what they're seeing. The cleanup is only just beginning. You have a roof caving in, damage coming through, pickup truck after pickup truck of people's items being moved out of this house as they sit on the porch and wait to see what's going to happen. Now, a little bit across the road on Fountain Avenue, you see all of the trees that are down. They're snapped like toothpicks. It looks like a bad movie set over here in the Fountain Park area. Almost every single tree has been hit or snapped or impacted in some way, shape, or form. Some houses luckier than others, only a few shingles ripped off, others completely destroyed. We saw down the road a roof fallen in, completely smashed and burnt and just charred because of how badly the damage has been. Of course, this church is going to take quite a while. And Mike, I know you were asking a little bit earlier about what happens when it comes to the rebuild. From what we can see here in Fountain Park, it's still too soon. It's more so that cleanup word that we're focused on. And then, of course, where are these families and people staying for the remainder of the next couple days and the next couple weeks?
And I know, cleanup is just beginning, but can you give us an idea where you are? I mean, that church, I mean, you just look at it and it's heartbreaking to see. But what about the streets and power lines, and how are they looking in that area? Can people get through? Is it still dangerous to walk in that area or drive in that area?
It's a great question, Mike, and we were just coming from that Delmar Boulevard, that Kings Highway, on our way over, while we were making our way over to Fountain Avenue. Trees are still down, power lines down. My photographer, Jimmy Hummel, and I were making a joke that there were people leaning up against a car, or they were smoking a cigarette, and there was a down power line just standing there. And probably not the best spot to be in if you want to be underneath a power line while you're having a relax. But again, it's been a very stressful day, a stressful couple of days. So those power lines, Mike, that you're mentioning are still very much a problem, but there's no electricity out here. So that's one of the other biggest issues. But yes, as we saw yesterday in North St. Louis, and as we're seeing again here in Fountain Park, you should not be driving over power lines. Try to go around them. But of course, with many one-ways in the city, you have to sort of navigate because you're not positive how long it would take. So from getting from Kings Highway all the way over here to Fountain Avenue, it wasn't easy. It probably should have taken about 3 minutes. As Megan was mentioning earlier, that traffic isn't really as much of a problem as much as the roads being blocked off. So this 3-minute drive actually ended up taking closer to a little bit about 8 minutes right over here.
And Annie, I know you were at the city briefing, and I think people who have not been hit as badly by these storms, they want to know how they can help. What did city officials say, and how can people help out right now?
Yeah, of course, the Red Cross was in attendance during that press conference today. United Way keeps being mentioned over and over again. If you want to donate, that word donate keeps coming up, whether that's bottles of water or even funds or money. We've been able to see when I was out here in Fountain Avenue, we've been out here probably for the last couple hours or so just trying to ask people that question, how can we help? Walking up to a homeowner asking, how can we assist? So whether that's coming over and dropping off, hey, here's a big pallet of water for someone who might need it, here's a pallet of snacks, it can be something as simple as that. But we're also noticing is online that you can have those donations, those links, and of course the city's offering to have those donations. If you want to come out and ask something like this church, hey, how can we help? Give them a ring. We were able to speak with the Reverend a little bit earlier. You can reach out directly to some of these locations that you're seeing on the news. And we were also able to hear from some of the officials that Ameren and Spire are being called upon for the next 4 months to potentially have a moratorium on the utility bills. Is that a question that we're going to see in the next day or so, whether or not people in these areas who have been hardest hit, if they're going to have to pay their utility bills once this power goes back on.
And of course, if you need resources, you always can go to our website, ksdk.com, and we have them posted there. So Annie Kroll, thanks so much for joining us once again. As we wrap up with this live update, let's go back over what we know and what we're still waiting to learn. At 9 tonight, a curfew will go into effect for those living near the damaged areas. That curfew goes to 6 a.m. The city is in a state of emergency right now. St. Louis Metropolitan Police say as for the 5 people killed from Friday's storm, they say they've identified 3 of them, and ages range from 30-something to 82 years old. More than 30 people are also injured. Hurt, those of all ages. Some remain in critical condition. The Red Cross has 3 shelters set up for those impacted by the storms. The Red Cross tells us last night over 70 people found shelter there. Representative Wesley Bell in the last 2 hours announced he has asked President Donald Trump to issue a disaster declaration so St. Louis can work with FEMA and receive some grant money. And we just learned that the shelter at Grace United Methodist Church is at capacity, so be aware of that. Ameren tells us 66,000 people still remain without power. They have restored power to about 70,000 people who were without power. So for those who still don't have power, starting tomorrow, Verizon will have a mobile charging station with free Wi-Fi at the YMCA in O'Fallon Park off Interstate 70 on the north side. We have a list of all the resources available on our website for those needing support. Again, you can go to ksdk.com, or you can also text STORMS to 314-425-5355, and we will send it to you. We will be back tonight at 10, right on 5 on your side, and we're always streaming right here on 5+. Thanks for joining us.